Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the Playmates Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Shredder. I know what you're thinking. Spot's already looked at the Shredder. This is actually Shredder version 2. And it's got a slightly different design aesthetics to it. Deadly leader of the evil Foot Clan. Shredder comes to us from the folks over... Actually, again, it says Spin Master, which is just a Canadian distributor for Playmates here in Canada. But is recommended for ages 4 and up. On the back of the package, the read-up... Weapons, first of all, removable helmet, razor-sharp armor. Team is the Foot Clan, of course. The read-up says Shredder is determined to get his revenge as the infamous leader of the Foot Clan. Shredder removes his mask, revealing deep scars that covers his face from being trapped in a burning building after a brutal fight with the Turtles' sensei, Splinter. That is also carried over in English, Francais in the second, and Spanish. Several different figures. I think Spot's pretty much covered all of them. The Battle Shell Turtles. We've got Splinter, April O'Neil, Metalhead, Kirby Bat, Leatherhead, and Ninjas in Training. And on the evil end of it, we've got Snakeweed, the Rat King, Krang, Cockroach Terminator, Mutagen Man, Squirrelanoid, Shredder, Foot Soldier, Mousers, Dog Pound, Baxter Stockman, Fishface, and Raza. Technically, I haven't done Raza yet, but Spot has picked him up, so we're going to be looking at him eventually as well. I'm going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at Shredder version 2. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Sadly, Spot doesn't actually have his original Shredder. I wish I could do the comparison between the two for you guys. My Shredder is somewhere. He's somewhere... perhaps in Dimension X. Doesn't really take away from the fact, though, that this is a really incredible looking Shredder, though. Now, he's not perfect. In fact, the one problem that he has is the same thing that most non-turtle figures all seem to suffer from, and that's lack of articulation. I was at least pleasantly surprised to see at least that Shredder had knee articulation, which, getting him initially out of packaging, he's kind of posed like this. And I think to myself, oh great, he's not going to have any sort of knee articulation to speak of, but luckily he does. He does, but the downside though is where they've put the knee articulation, it's actually right around the shin blades that he's got on his leg. This one leg I can straighten, but the only downside though is the way that his foot is arched. Even if you have his leg straight, his foot kind of sits, as you can see right there, on an angle. As for his other leg, it's either really, really stiff. Oh, it's really stiff. Or it's just, I cannot get it to bend. I kind of wish that the blades were just a little bit shorter. That could have cleared it. And I certainly wish that his feet were flat, as opposed to the kind of the arched feet that he has. Also, the Shredder sadly doesn't have any elbow articulation. He does have quite a bit of articulation in the shoulders themselves. A nice pin and hinge socket, allowing the arms to move out forward and back. But because he has no elbow articulation, he just doesn't do a whole lot in his arms. When it comes to his face is really nice. And with this being a version 2 Shredder, it's kind of like they fixed the problems that were the issues with the first Shredder. It means that we get a little more show accurate of a Shredder. And I also like the fact that you can remove the helmet. The armor, from what I remember, looks like it's a little bit darker than what we got with the initial Shredder, where I feel as if that first Shredder had a lighter silver color. But you can take his helmet off, revealing the very gruesome, scarred face of Shredder underneath. I really don't like that I don't like the fact that Shredder can take his mask off. I almost feel like it's more of a mystery by keeping the helmet on. Less is more. And that's not really an argument to the toy. That's an argument to the show where, you know, Shredder takes his helmet off. I'm always going to keep the helmet on. The downside, though, is the helmet doesn't... As you move the head, it kind of just moves the helmet as well. And half the time, the helmet ends up just kind of coming off as well. The other differences, the other main things, I guess, with this particular shredder too, is the inclusion of the more wavy, ripped cape. Whereas I think, again, the original version 1 shredder just had this cape going straight down. I really like this tattered, torn cape. It's a nice added touch to Shredder, and it certainly gives a lot more just wowness to it, I guess, when you're displaying him, because he's got the kind of the tattered cape behind him. Still not super crazy on the big blades that he's got on his legs. I always think it's just way too big and bulky. But like this part right here, I really like. For your articulation, Shredder does have a ball joint. Let's just take the helmet off here. It is a ball joint, but you really can't do too much moving out of it. You can't really move it up because the back of his head gets in the way. You can't really move it down because the front of his face gets in the way. So you're ultimately just moving the head left and right. Let's not also lose the helmet here. Put the helmet in place. As I already mentioned, he's got pin hinge socket joints, meaning that there's a pin that goes right through, and then there's a hinge clip that attaches the arms to the inner socket. So it's like a ball joint, ball hinge joint. The arms move out, forward and back. He does have a swivel in the wrist. Not that it really does much, because he's got these blades really kind of just taking up most of the ad space here. He's got a swivel in the waist, and then his legs go forward, back, out. Yes, you did see his cape come off. That comes off. There's a little clip at the back, which also kind of gives him an extra bit of dynamic ness in the sense that you can unpeg the cape and you kind of just have more, combat ready. I just wish that his knees again, that there is that articulation, but I feel like this knee is easy to bend. This knee wants to either see there's the problem right there. Actually, now that we look further into it, the knee is pre-bent, but then they give you a hinge. Why give you a hinge on a joint that's already pre-bent? You're telling people this is basically how we want you to pose it, but then you're giving us the luxury of a little individual hinge in the knee. Why? I call that's a tease. You're teasing me when you're doing that because you're putting the hinge there, but I can't really do much with it. Overall, it's a better Shredder than what we got before. Let's see if I can get the cape back on here. It's a better Shredder than what we had before. I feel he's not perfect, but at least he's a step up. Kind of wish that I still had the original Shredder. We could have done a little more of a comparison, but I prefer the Shredder a lot more. I just wish he wasn't as limited still in the articulation. Shredder version 2, I'm going to give him a 7.5. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the Playmates toys, or Spin Master, depending on where you're picking the toys up from. Today we're having a look at the Shredder version 2. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots heading your way. Thanks for watching. See you next time.